Thank you, YouTube, once again for spending some time with me. This is Dr. W Finance, and we are on a journey to talk about your money, your debt, and if you haven't already, help me out. Let's subscribe so you can keep track of some of the videos that I'm uploading, and make sure you hit the like button. And the way that I know that this is working or it's not, or thought processes that you have about the topics, is whether you like it. So go ahead and make sure that you focus on that. Today, I want to make sure we talk about marriage and finances. If you're not married yet, this is helpful anyway. There might be a friend that's about to get married, might be a little nugget you want to give them. And so, what do you do? This is the biggest thing. There's no manual that tells you about income when you get married, and how do you combine that or not. And so, I'm going to give you three specific thoughts today about whether you should combine your money with your spouse. It's a tough topic, and I want to know in your comments what you're thinking. So make sure you take some time to put it out there. And remember from a couple of my other videos, I need you to be true to yourself. I don't know who you are. You really don't know who I am. This is where you can really put in there, if you're not combining with your spouse, why aren't you? If you are, what made the difference? And you might help someone else out here. So the number one first thing is that when thinking for me of whether I was going to combine my income with my wife, was, why did I get married in the first place? So why did you get married? And what I realized is I had to make a decision about trust. Now, either you are on the side of combining or you're not. And you could run to the conclusion that if you don't combine, then you don't trust your spouse. I don't think that's really the case. It may be more of trusting yourself to trust that person. And what does that mean, trust? It's really this idea of, I know I can depend on you. I know that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. I know that you're going to have my back. You're going to look out for me. And we used to have this saying, like the ride or die. And you're going to be true to me, and I'm going to be true to you. This is this idea of trust. And at first, when I got married, I've been married going on about 11 years now. I knew her for 8 months. Look, how do you really know a person? And so for us, we didn't combine our income right off the bat. Uh, it was, there was a checking account that she had, there was a checking account I had, and we got there. I'm going to tell you straight up, we got there. But this thing still was, why did I get married? And what did that really mean? This was not my girlfriend. This was just not someone that I just met for a little bit, and then we eventually just separated or anything of that sort and got back together. It wasn't anything of that. This was someone I said, till death do us part. And even again, at first, I remember we got these, I don't know if it's even popular, tell me in the comments. We got these kind of debit cards where you load the card. I know those things exist, but it was something a way back, like a Google card, and we could load up. I guess this is what we call just trying to build trust with one another. And so each of us got maybe a couple $100s on the card, and that's all we could spend. Like trying to hold ourselves accountable. And we did that. And we realized we still wanted to be our own person. Because even though the two of us became one when we got married, we still had this autonomy. And we would spend the money that was on our card, but none of us wanted to be held back from that. So it was somewhat kind of unspoken where we said, well, let us get a card together. That was our next step. Let us get a card together, because after about, and it took maybe 6 to 8 months of getting this card, this was our next step of saying, can I count on this person? And it seemed like, because I didn't know what she was spending money on when she had her debit card. She didn't know what I was spending on. And what we realized is, wow, if we actually had a card together, we actually could hold each other more accountable. And so that was really kind of the reason we did it. And we got one card, and we still have one card. And so when thinking about why did you get married, I knew that it was eventually going to get to that point, I believe, that we were going to combine our finances. And I realized that I married this person so they could have my back, so they could hold me accountable, and they could question where I'm spending our money. And so that was the conclusion we came to. Now, write in the comments, and you may have decided not to do that. Maybe it's a different way you hold each other accountable, but there has to be some type of trust, I would think, because you're married, right? And maybe part of it is thinking of, is this your second marriage? Have you done this before? Have you been burned? Right? That's a whole different kind of thought process. I've never been in that situation, and so tell me what do you think? I imagine it feels real crappy, right? It puts some guards up, but it made me think about, what's this thing called marriage? So the number two thing was thinking about the power of a combined income. Whew. When you're able to double that up and not just think about the money that you're going to work and making, but you are also supporting that other person in what they do as their livelihood, and it hits the checking account together, it really becomes like, oh, this is this opportunity, this power between the two of us is, wow, I love this person, and I love that we can build this life together. And that is something that you want to think on for this number two. What is the opportunity? What more could you do if you combine? I know that there's some out there where it's like one person runs out of money, the husband, and then they have to ask the wife for something, or vice versa. Or someone's going into debt, like they buy a car, but this other spouse is saving money and has $30,000 in the bank, and tell me in the comments, tell me the sense of that. And I mean it, really. Kind of, I know what we did in our marriage, but tell me the thought process of, how do you build in a sense of a marriage and the power of two, if you're completely doing your own thing in any respect, and that you really don't know what the other person is doing or spending in the sense of their money. And so that's the second thing, again, you want to think of, is this opportunity, the power that the two of you can have together. What does that look like? And what's that conversation, in the sense of, if you are separate in your finances, at least have the conversation of, look, this is what we could do together. And so that's the main thing with this second point. Have that talk of how beautiful and how much you can improve your well-being in your family if you combine your finances, right? Think about that. The third thing that you want to consider is really about the feeling. Where does your concerns come from? And I need you to really think about that. The feeling that money gives you and why it feels a certain way to combine that finance, or it feels a particular way to not combine it. What is the feeling that comes over you, right? I mean, put in a comment. I really want to see. Part of me, I'm a researcher, right? That's why I got my doctorate. I'm wondering about the experience when you think about keeping your money separated. I mean, what is that? Like, what would the word be? Elated? Is that something that makes you feel good? Is when you combine your incomes, how does that make you feel, right? And for me, I'll tell you, the word that I would think that for us, combining our income, it makes me feel secure. It makes me feel that we are a we. It makes me feel like my spouse believes that I'm going to do the right thing for us and our family. And that's the feeling that I get. And so, with all that we talk about in these particular videos, this is a time for you to really reflect and say, what is it that I feel, right? So those are the 3 points you got to think of. Why did you get married? And what was the thought about money as you were getting married? I want you to consider the power of 2 and the opportunity there. And lastly, I just want you to think about the feeling, and what is that one word that you would say, this is how combining my money makes me feel. And that's a conversation with your spouse. If you got a kid, kids, put your kids down at sleep at night. Go ahead and if you have some wine, if you don't drink, have a soda, have some juice. I'm not sure, but really have this conversation about money, and use that particular word that really resonates with you as you're thinking about combining your finances. And so that's my thoughts. Thank you again for riding with me. Again, if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't liked, please, if something hit you in a way that made you feel good about working and thinking with me on this journey, go ahead and like it. And above all, comment so I can chat with you and know that something is sticking with you out there, because I'm really interested in what you think about this topic of combining your money with your spouse. All right, until next time, thank you.